Hi there! Thank you so much again for joining me on this channel. As always, I'm very grateful for all your previous views, likes, subscriptions and shares. So you've probably noticed a little difference, which is I haven't got my normal slideshow over here, and I'm going to be filling your screen a bit more, which is probably going to freak you out. Believe me, it's freaking me out as well. Things are also still a bit cluttered down here. I did tidy up, but some more stuff down here. As you may know, I don't actually have a desk to do this filming on. It's actually a coffee table, and I'm really low down on the ground. I think one year for a video I actually sat on a packing case. So hopefully, when the desk is set up, it will be a bit easier for me to record. I thought it'd be kind of fun today to have a look at some artifacts. An artifact is something that is basically made by a human being. Many religions have artifacts to help their believers understand their religion, to help carry on traditions, and also to communicate ideas to non-believers. I'm really fortunate to have quite a few artifacts, and I wanted to share them with you and also just encourage you to perhaps find your own. All these artifacts were either gifted to me, which I was really lucky, or I found them in charity shops really cheaply. I know we have some guests from the United States of America, and the nearest equivalent to charity shops are thrift stores. And the first one is the Buddha, and I've suddenly realized I can't really hold this. Yeah, just bear with me. Hey, that's better. This Buddha was found in a charity shop not too far from where I live. What I love about this Buddha is, first of all, it comes with a candle as well. And the candle is in the shape of a lotus flower. And the lotus flower is an important symbol in Buddhism. Okay, and you can also see just here around the front, there are more petals representing the lotus flower. The lotus flower represents an open mind. Also, we have one of the mudras. The mudras are hand positions that show different ideas and concepts in the Buddhist tradition. And this gesture means reassurance, blessing, protection. Do not fear. I have no idea if this Buddha was made as a kind of lifestyle piece that someone might have in their front room, if it was made specifically for some kind of more specific religious purpose. But what I do know is that the Buddha is around in all sorts of places, in all sorts of cultural touchstones, particularly in the UK. If you go to garden centres, I'm not joking, by the way. If next time you're in a garden centre, have a look round. There are often statues of the Buddha, okay, nestled in amongst the garden gnomes and those stone bird baths. It's just really interesting how people like to, I don't know, have the Buddha as a form of kind of reassurance, I guess. When I was on a holiday many years ago, I was walking around and I went past like a junk shop or an antique shop, and I just saw this poking out the top, and I grabbed it, wondered what it was, and of course it was a crucifix. Of course, I had to have it. And what really intrigues me is I've got no idea where this came from. So you have an image of Jesus on the cross, and you have what looks like, and I've been able to work out either some sort of like the power of God or some representation of that. And you also have these kind of little holes round on each of the points of the cross. In the Roman Catholic Christian tradition, you often see a crucifix, and it's to focus on the suffering of Jesus. In other words, Jesus suffered while he was on earth, and that gives believers hope and an understanding that Jesus can also identify with them. Somebody then showed me you could do this. You can turn it round, and then what you have is a Protestant cross. Of course, Protestants were those who protested about the leadership of the Roman Catholic Church. And in the Protestant tradition, the cross is empty to focus on the fact that Jesus is risen again and conquered death and sin. It's a really neat artifact, and it allows me to help explain the differences between the Roman Catholic tradition and the Protestant tradition, but also it's made of metal, so it's quite strong and quite robust, so it lasts quite a long time as well. It was a really neat find and has proved invaluable to me. And somebody gifted me a while ago a prayer mat. I'm just going to hold it up for you. The tradition of prayer mats started with the Prophet Muhammad, and who would often pray on palm fronds known as kumrah. And the idea was to have somewhere that was clean and tidy to perform salah. Now, with this prayer mat, you can see it has a mosque on the top, and also slightly further down, it also has these wonderful images and patterns. Now, of course, originally prayer mats were handmade, but they can be mass produced now. Some will even have a compass in them to help the worshipper guide themselves towards Mecca. One of the things I think is really cool about the prayer mats is how practical they are. They're not worshipped in themselves, of course. They don't have any great religious significance. What they do show is that they're part of the process and the ritual of Salah. And it makes sense. If you've performed wudu, that is the ritual washing before prayer, then you want to make sure that you are still clean and tidy, and that makes sense to have a prayer mat. Now, this is one of the stranger artifacts that was given to me. This is an empty beer bottle of Lucky Buddha beer. So first of all, it's really striking, isn't it? Having an alcoholic drink with a religious figure on it. Now, the figure on there is Budai, who is a kind of semi-historical character from ancient China. He's sometimes referred to as the laughing Buddha. He's fat and he's jolly, and he was kind of like a wandering monk. There is a whole bunch of mythology about him. And one of them is that he particularly liked the company of children, and he had this almost kind of Father Christmas style approach. So it's just really interesting how these different stories emerged. It's also kind of strange as well, because generally in Buddhism, one does not drink alcohol. And although Buddha is not the Buddha, it's kind of interesting the way that he's now portrayed on a bottle of beer. So it's a really interesting talking point, and I suppose you can discuss about kind of values of using religious figures and whether really it's offensive or is it okay. And I think that's part of the discussion that we have, isn't it, in religious studies. Okay, another thing that I found was this sheep skull. And of course, I've suddenly realized that technically a skull isn't an artifact. It was actually made by human beings, but I hope you still get the point anyway. Sorry. And I do want to emphasize, I didn't actually wrestle a sheep to the ground. Okay, no sheep were harmed in the making of this video or in the collection of my artifacts. I was kind of wandering around aimlessly in the Welsh countryside, and I found this skull. The reason why I picked it up was because, well, it's kind of interesting how in certain religious traditions, animal sacrifice is significant. And I realized I didn't have anything to kind of symbolize that. And I could have got like a cuddly toy, but I wanted something that was kind of real. And so I found this sheep skull. Now, obviously, it's not going to be to everyone's tastes, and I'm not there to deliberately offend or shock anyone, but the thing is, it just hopefully added a little bit of gravitas, a little bit of weight to when we were discussing how in certain cultures animal sacrifice was important. The skull is respectfully looked after, of course. So when I'm talking about, for example, the Passover in the Jewish faith and how the lamb was slaughtered, then this often comes out, and it's just kind of very respectfully left on the desk and is used as a talking point. People have been very generous to me over the years, and someone very kindly gifted me this image. It's a painting or reproduction of a painting by a Victorian artist called William Holman Hunt, and it's called The Light of the World and was painted in the 1850s. It's based on a verse in the book of Revelation in the Bible, Revelation being one of the apocalyptic books. And Revelation 3:20 starts with, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." It represents the idea that Jesus stands at the door, or representing the life of every human being, and is ready to be let into that person's life. There are some classic symbols here. Behind the head of Jesus, you have the halo, and he's wearing the crown of thorns. There's also a lovely lamp that he's holding here, and on the top of the lamp are images of the stars to show that he is the light of the world. Critics of the painting pointed out, well, hang on a moment, Mr. Hunt, you seem to have missed out the door handle at the front of the door. And that is true, there is no door handle. But the point that William Holman Hunt was trying to make is, well, the door handle is on the inside. It's up to each person to open the door if they want to let Jesus into their lives. It's a really neat summary of a core Christian idea. And I think what's really fascinating is how you can also apply it to other situations. So I think talking about self-responsibility, for example, and it's up to us to make choices. So you can broaden it out from the Christian tradition. The original picture is at Keble College in Oxford, and as you can tell, there's lots of reproductions out there. There is something about having real artwork, isn't there, to look at, and sometimes it just makes things feel a bit more alive. We can actually look at an image, and also I guess learning how to read a picture is a pretty cool skill to have as well. I have absolutely no idea if that was of any interest to you, but it was kind of cool for me to kind of look back at some of my artifacts. And I think the key thing as well is that you can find them in all sorts of places. Please, as always, if you're able to like, comment and subscribe, give me some ideas of any topics you'd like me to explore. As always, thank you so much for watching and enjoy your learning.